Welcome back. Thanks for watching another video. So the question I have for you is, do you feel that you're wealthy? You know, the amount of money that you have in your retirement account, in your savings, do you feel that you're wealthy? Well, in this video, I'm going to walk through a new survey that came out by Charles Schwab that provides a number that people think is considered wealthy. There's also some other statistics in this presentation, these survey results, that also kind of walks through other items besides just money, which I also define as pretty important. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. It's going to be a pretty short video, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Thank you. All right, so here's the survey by Charles Schwab. They just released this. And, they kind of looked at different generations, right? You got the Gen Zs, the Millennials, the Gen Xs, and the Baby Boomers. They're all kind of part of the study here. And to kind of start out, they asked everyone, what do you think you need to have in order to be considered wealthy? And the number that came back was $2.2 million. Okay. But what's interesting is the people that they asked, their average net worth was, just over $500,000, and they felt that they were wealthy. So that was pretty interesting. But 2.2 million is the number that most people felt that someone needs to have in order to be considered wealthy. Here's kind of the breakdown by, the feelings of wealthiness by generation, right? So it's interesting that the baby boomers, to have more money is considered wealthy versus, the Gen Zs. Let's see here, definition of wealth, well-being, right? A well-balanced life, money, assets, necessities. You can see here, money's not always at the top of mind. And then here's some other interesting items here, and I'll stop at this slide here. And if you want a copy of this slide, you can obviously Google it or just send me a message and I'd be happy to kind of share it with you. But here's an interesting one, and I see this more and more, is time versus money. And you can see here that by a large, landslide, more people value time than having money. And as you think about it, right, there's 24 hours in a day. And, how do you break down your day, right? You can have, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours to do something else, right? And it's interesting to hear how people at work, how they treat their meetings, right? Like, do they really need to have this meeting? Do they really need to be in person? Do they really even need to have this conference call, right? Is there other ways to kind of reduce the time and use it elsewhere? Or even, being in your car, driving 2 hours to work and 2 hours back, right? Is that a good use of your time? So a lot of people are kind of really valuing their time. And I think that speaks a lot for us having money. There's only so much time in a day, right? Only so much, days in a week, weeks in a month, months in a year. So, anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. And, I think it kind of goes to, in terms of like having a documented financial plan. We work with a lot of business owners, and it's very important, you're running a business, but having like a succession plan set up. And especially business owners that have, a family, a young family, right, with children, are their trusts, are their wills, estate plans all set up? If you haven't done that, it's important to kind of start thinking about that. You can see here in this slide, 65% of those that were kind of part of this don't even have a financial plan in place. There are tools out there like, mint.com, which you connect all your bank accounts, investment accounts. It kind of shows you how you, spend your money. But you got to think more beyond that, right? You want to figure out what your net worth is, right? So your net worth is all the assets that you own, right? Your home, your car, money in the bank, money in your retirement account, all that stuff. And then you subtract the liabilities that you have, right? Like student loans, credit card liabilities, your mortgage. So you take total assets less liabilities, you get to your net worth. And you want to be thinking about, it says here financial goals, right? Like, what are your goals over the next 5 to 10 years, right? When do you plan to retire? When you plan on retiring, what do you plan on doing in retirement, right? You want to start thinking about these things, because, there's different movements out there in terms of retirement, right? Like trying to, save as much as you can and retire early. Then have you thought about, all right, you saved what you needed to save, you're retired at the age of 35, but how much do you plan on living off of every year? And do you have enough to do that? So you got to really, think about all that stuff, right? Like how much are you spending in money right now every month, right? And you got to think about, okay, is this what I need to have when I retire, right? So there's a lot of thought that goes into this, and it's not something that you just sit down in one sitting and put everything on paper and you're done with. If you haven't got a financial plan together, you should be working with someone. But it takes time, right? And you could put one phase together, work on it, and then, a couple months later, go back to it, add to it, subtract to it. And then once you have a financial plan, the whole family's on board with it, put it away and kind of revisit it every year. But it is important, and, having those money conversations is not easy, especially at the home. But it's something that should be done. And once you have that plan in place, the stress of money kind of, I don't want to say it goes away, but now you have a plan in place, and it's kind of like a mini roadmap. And you can kind of do different things with it. So, and that kind of goes along with like taxes, right? Tax planning. Everyone fears taxes, tax returns and all that. But once you have like a plan in place, when it comes time for like year-end tax returns and stuff, I know I'm kind of going off on the tangent here. Once you, do the tax planning, come April, there shouldn't be any surprises. You kind of know what you owe. You kind of know what you are going to get back in a refund. So there's a lot to it in terms of planning. So anyways, hopefully you find this video helpful. I did go off on a little tangent here, but the key here is wealth is kind of viewed differently, based on who you speak to. Money is not everything, right? You can see here that, people do value the importance of time and time management. And then also kind of having like a financial plan in place, right? It's important to have that. So again, thanks again for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks.